Hey everyone, it is George Couros with a special edition of the Innovator's Mindset podcast. No music, just me, just hanging out. I am about to turn 50 years old, and I honestly can't believe I'm about to be 50. I remember actually distinctly when my mom was 50 years old. The neighbors put 50 pink flamingos outside our lawn. I remember that day, and I was thinking, man, she is so old. And now here I am, obviously several decades later. And yeah, 50 is new 30 now, so it doesn't really count. But, as you're listening to this, my birthday was probably just last week. But I wanted to share something from an email I just shared out to my community that I wanted to share with them, just some lessons I've learned over my life. And over the past several weeks, I've just been text to audio to text to audio, writing some things down, some things that I've learned that make me really think about how could I help other people through this. And recently I was actually in Forney ISD working with students. And one of the students asked me something that really stuck to me because we were talking about financial fluency, digital portfolios, really kind of how do you open doors for yourself. And that really is something that is important to me because I have intentionally or accidentally created opportunities for myself I didn't even know existed. And my goal in life is to really help not just students, but anyone willing to learn to help open doors for themselves intentionally. And one of the students asked me, he said, what is the one piece of advice that you would give? If you could just choose one thing that would really matters to you, what would you choose as a way to give advice, to find success? And for me, the first thing that came to my mind was, and it's such a great question from the student, the first thing that came to my mind was to help others. That if you help others, it actually never lessens your work. In fact, I would actually say the opposite, that it elevates it. And one of the things I've really been blessed with in my career is working with great administrators, great leaders, great people in the work that I do right now, who have elevated me. And my goal always is to try to help as many people as possible find their voice, find something that they're really passionate about where they can make that difference, because I've been the beneficiary of that. So that, to me, if I could give you one piece of advice through all my entire life, through my 50 years, elevate others. If you elevate others, it will never diminish your own light. In fact, if anything, it'll actually help brighten it even more. That's one of the reasons you're probably here today, is maybe you connect with me because someone suggested that you listen to this podcast, someone suggested you read my blog, and I benefited from that. So I want to do that for as many people as possible. So I just want to share a few of them, even though I've written 50 and you can read all of them. I'll link the email down below. Some of the things that I really want to share with you. And I just pick some random ones. The first one I actually wrote was to lift others up, which is, like I said, which was kind of on my mind. I think that student actually sparked the idea in the first place. And so a couple of things, maybe I'll expand a little bit more than I did, because I just wrote a couple sentences or a sentence or two for each point. And one of the ones I wrote is don't worry about the criticisms of people who will never support you. I spent a lot of time really getting worked up about people who I didn't know, maybe even people who I did know, who would just criticize me and share negative things. And no matter what I would do, they were never going to help me. They were never going to support me. They were never going to cheer when I actually found any success. So why was I concerned about them? And on the other hand, other point of this, there are so many people in the world who want you to be successful. And do we actually pay attention to them? Do we lift them up? Do we actually share our gratitude? Think about it this way. You do some work at your job, you deliver a session to teachers, you get like 100 pieces of feedback. 99 of them are cheering you on, and they're saying how great things were. And one of them is negative. And which one do you often focus on? And I do it all the time. I've been guilty of this, and I've really tried to work to not do that. So really spend time on the people who want to lift you up. And it's not that you can't take criticism from strangers. I don't think that's not what I'm saying at all. But there's a difference between strangers who are giving you advice because they want you to succeed versus strangers who will always put you down no matter what you do. And when you find success, they will be extremely quiet. Don't spend your time on them. There's so many people who want you to be successful. Another piece of advice I want to share with you, and this is not mine. I heard it somewhere, but it's always resonated with me. It said there's basically two people in the world you want to impress the most: the 8-year-old version of yourself and the 84-year-old version of yourself. When you look back at your life, what is the impact you've had on your community? What's the impact on your family, on your friends? That's a life you want to look back on and be proud of. But then when you think about your 8-year-old self, what are the dreams that you wanted to achieve, that you wanted to go? I know this sounds weird. There's so many things I've done in my life. I've gone to a Super Bowl. I've got to travel to some amazing places. The only thing that 8-year-old version of me has not done, and hopefully because I live in Orlando now, it happens soon, is go to WrestleMania. Now I don't follow wrestling at all, but as a kid, this was my dream to go to WrestleMania. I was so into wrestling, and maybe that'll happen. And, I'd love to take my daughters, my son, to that one day. Probably when they're a little bit older, they might be a little bit, terrified of what happens at those events. I don't know. Maybe they're a little bit more family friendly now. Probably not. But I would often think about all the stuff that, I look at that I wish I could have done, and I just do it. I just try to make it happen. So I think, a piece of advice I didn't share here, I spend as much, the money doesn't buy happiness, but in any product will never make you happy, but experiences, that's where it's at. So that's something that really stuck to me. Another one I shared is when a relationship fails, you can blame the other person, but growth happens when you look at how you can be better for the next person who comes into your life. This is something that matters to me. And the reason I share this one in particular is it's pretty easy when you break up with someone or, a job doesn't go the way you want. You can point fingers at the person. And it's not saying that there's never any blame to go around, or they were perfect in the situation, or maybe they were even horrible in the situation. But if you constantly focus on what they didn't do, how they were bad, how they could have been better, it doesn't actually do anything for you into the next relationship. And even if things aren't good or there's experiences that you didn't appreciate, to actually kind of understand that about yourself and know moving forward, these are the things that I will accept, these are the things I will not tolerate, is where you find that growth. Constantly blaming someone from the past, not that it's not justified, but it doesn't help. It doesn't actually make you any better. So always look at when things go wrong. One of the things that I think about, there's a job that I really like the people there, but it just wasn't the job for me. And probably one of the biggest changes in my life was going to another job, not knowing this is actually in teaching, where I didn't really like it. And I kind of hated teaching at that point in my career, but I thought I'll give it one more year. I was actually going to quit, but then this job came last minute. But when I went to that new job, instead of thinking about all the things that went wrong in the past or the things I didn't like about my last job, I also said, okay, I want to give it my all. What are some things that I'm going to do differently to recreate myself? I have a total blank slate with this group of people. They don't know anything about me. So the impression I make, so I can tell you that you could blame everything in the past on old jobs, things like that. And it would have been easy for me to do that, but it wouldn't have helped me in anywhere in my career. So I said, look, I got this blank slate. I'm going to do everything to change who I am as I move forward. And once I did that, the opportunities that came forward to me were absolutely amazing. I would not be talking to you. I would not have the career I have right now. I would have never written a book. I would have never spoke at so many events if I didn't recreate myself. And there's a part of me where I focused on the things that I wanted to become and what I would do to be there. I actually just read something from Brianna Weiss. I can't remember the exact quote, but it's like, basically, don't act the way you are, act the way you want to become. And that's what I did in that situation. And it opened up doors for me. But I also kind of learned some things that, in leadership, things I didn't appreciate, things I didn't like. And to ensure that the people that I serve moving forward never went through that as well. And that's something I learned too. And I don't blame anyone, because I guarantee you that in every situation, even when things go wrong, you have to ask yourself, like, what could I have done better in this situation? Doesn't mean you're at fault. Doesn't mean you're the worst person ever. But it means that I am responsible for my future, what I do today, and how I learn from things in the past and how I apply them so I can get better moving forward. That's what really matters to me. So whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's a professional relationship, when that thing doesn't go out the way you want it to be, what are some things that you can do to move forward? Another one I want to share with you. When you feel jealous of someone, learn from what they're doing and see how they can apply it to your own life. You may not have access to the same circumstances, but you can still open doors for yourself. It is really easy to think, this person got that because of this circumstance. This person got that because of this. I've always struggled with my weight. I've always struggled with my health. And I will tell you, my family's genetics, not great. And I understand that. And so you can say, well, that person can eat whatever they want, so it's not really fair. Well, it isn't. You're right. But what are some of the things that they're doing to actually keep their health in check? I might not have the exact same circumstances, and I might not be able to do the exact same things that they can do, but I can take some of the lessons that they have, that I'm watching, that I'm seeing, and ask, can I apply this in some way to my life? Can I just, maybe some small tweaks, a little bit of changes, I can actually make them better. The thing is, when you feel jealousy or envy, if you're seeing someone on social media and you're upset that they have experiences that you wish you could have, you can spend all your time jealousy. I see this all the time, by the way. I see people going on complaining about others on social media. And my first thought is, all this time that you're sitting on the internet complaining about this person is time you are wasting to not actually apply to your own life to make it better. After you do that, after you complain, maybe you'll even see them fall, that person that you have that envy of. But did that make your life better? So instead of wasting my time, and maybe you might want to use it as motivation, whatever, learn from other people. If you feel some jealousy, ask yourself, why? Why is it? Do I want something they have? And if you do, then ask, what are they doing that you're willing to do? That something matters to me. And that kind of goes into one of the things I listed, be a creator over a critic. It is really easy to stand back and, I remember someone posted on one of my podcasts actually about how much I sucked. And I'm like, but you listen to the whole thing, which is like, if I don't like a video, I'm going to turn it off. So maybe, if you're still here, thank you. But it is really easy just to criticize someone else's stuff. To create stuff is hard. But long term, other than Siskel and Ebert, no one remembers the critics. It's the creators, the people that make stuff, that really, really matters. And it's interesting because I don't know if I wrote these because they're connected. I didn't actually, I wanted so badly to say, hey, thanks for watching, that person, but I didn't say anything. And I wrote this: sometimes the best response is no response at all. One that's really important to me. Number 30 on my list: do your best to improve the energy of every room you enter. Early in my teaching career, I remember thinking about how much I hated going to the staff room. And there's some toxicity in that room, a lot of, complaining about kids, things like that. And I would just hide in my classroom. And I really liked being around the students. I spent all my time, and it wasn't, I did really enjoy being around the kids, but I was also avoiding some of the adults at that point of my career. And when I became an administrator, it could have been easily to let that happen. But I wanted to make sure that when you walk into a room, is it a better space because of your presence? I know, like, this is not just online or offline, but online as well. When you enter social media, if you start complaining about something and you create a space, like I see people like, oh, parents suck in education. And what space does that create? It creates an awesome space for people to get in fights, to talk about how much they hate parents. Does the room get better when we actually do that? Do we actually say, like, here's an action we can do that makes life better, or here's something that we can do, or you enter that space? I'm not saying you should, by the way, I would love to say this: I'm perfect. I've never complained about anyone behind their back. I would love to say that, but I'd be lying to you. But it's always thinking about, how do you create a space where people feel validated, feel valued, feel lifted up? One of the things I'm older, so I'm better with this. If you are someone who enters my life and I feel worse after talking to you, eventually I'm going to do everything to not have you in my life. I'm just going to avoid you. Even if I have to work with you, I'm going to avoid you as much as possible. Does people energy lift because of what you want to do? A little piece of advice: everything is easier to deal with after a hard workout. Someone who works out every single morning, I'll tell you, I try to stay off my phone. I try to not talk to people. It's like coffee for me. Like, don't talk to me until I had my workout. Because when you really challenge yourself and push yourself, everything else feels downhill. You know, it's not going to say there's no issues or some days aren't going to be harder than others, but it is just feels easier when you push yourself. When no one can push you as hard as you just push yourself, life becomes easier. Couple of last ones I want to share with you. And there's a bunch of lists. I hope you can read the list and you'll appreciate it. I hope there's some wisdom from my mistakes. Don't try to convince someone who doesn't want to be convinced. Spend your time with those who want to grow. This is one of the most popular questions I get asked in my workshops. What about that person that just doesn't want to try new things, is pushing back on everything? My focus is, if you actually focus on the people who want to grow and want to get better, if we spend 80% of our time on 80% of our people, they will help that person get better, or they might push them out. And I'm going to be honest with you, either one's okay. Maybe that person doesn't want to be convinced. But also, this is kind of going back to one of the things I shared earlier. You're not always right either, and I'm not always right. If you want to change someone how they think, listen to them first. Listen to where they're at, because maybe there's something really close where you have a connection that you can build together. So kind of thinking about that. One that I love, run towards something is better than running from something. Don't focus on the things that you hate in the past. Focus on the things you want to achieve. It's much easier. It's like a little subtle thing. When I ever run and I'm struggling during a run, if you focus on pain, the pain gets worse. But when I focus on things that bring me joy, thinking about my kids, them running to me in the morning, that does not just get me through the pain, it gives me a bolt of energy. Always run towards something if you can. And the last one, actually, I'm going to share two more. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. I'm a very prideful person, and when I'm struggling, it's really hard to talk to other people and to say I'm struggling. But as I'm older, there's more and more people I can count on that I can say, hey, I'm having a hard time. I just need to talk through some stuff. Sometimes they'll give me advice. Sometimes they won't. I'm not like the person like, hey, I just want to, not like, I just need to say it. I just need to get it out. And holding it in sometimes makes it worse. It's always better. There's times in my life where I've really struggled, and internalizing it only made it worse. Find those people in your life that really know what to do when you ask them for help, because that shows that you're strong. The last one I want to share with you. This is, and I'm 50. I'm getting old. I'm 50, right? SNL. Who would have thought? That's probably why I thought I was going to be old, is that SNL skit. This is a paraphrased idea from the movie My Dog Skip. And I wrote this, and it's not the accurate quote, but we spent our entire childhood wishing we could go back to being adults, and then our entire adult lives wishing to go back to be kids. Embrace your youthfulness. Love the things, listen to new music. You don't have to negate or say, kids these days, whatever. Embrace it. I spend way too much time on TikTok, and it makes me laugh, and it brings me joy. And it actually, when I speak to students, it's always shocking to them that I'm as old as I am, but I know a lot of the stuff they're doing, and I appreciate that. I love kind of keeping up with new music. It makes me feel younger. It really does. Even though I got grays in my beard, not my hair yet, but in my beard, I feel a youthfulness. I remember I just love the movie Billy Madison, and I just feel like no matter how old you get, you can have that same excitement. You got to mature, which Billy did. But there's another part of this too that I always think about. I remember this quote. I cannot remember where this came from, but it was something to the idea of we got to stop asking kids what they want to be when they grow up and get them to focus on what they love about being a kid. that is something I'm really guarded with my kids. I want them to have the best childhood ever. I maybe shield them from stuff that is adult stuff. And I think we as a society push adult stuff way too much on kids, as opposed to I just want them to have fun. I want them to enjoy, because I feel blessed growing up in a small community in Humboldt, Saskatchewan, Canada. I'm so proud of that town that I grew up in. And I had just the best childhood. I have really good friends I'm still friends with from that place. Many of them reached out to me for my birthday and really, really mattered to me. And I just love that I got to be a kid. And that's something I want. So wherever you are in life, embrace that moment. Embrace your youthfulness. You will never get old if you act young. Thanks for being here. Hopefully 50 more years, I'll be able to do 100 in the future. I doubt it, but we'll see. Who knows with advances in technology what will happen. But thanks so much for being here. I just want to share some ideas with you. Have a wonderful day. Take care.